Welcome to the podcast, Let the Prophet Speak. This is Saul Weinreb, the host of the podcast, and today we are doing Yirmiyahu, that's Jeremiah, chapter 5a, the first portion of chapter 5. Because the chapters in this book of Yirmiyahu are usually quite long, I'm in almost every case going to be breaking up the chapters into 2 or 3 portions so that we can absorb the material better and that the podcasts don't take too long. So today I'm going to go through verse 18. We're going to end from 1 to 18. The last chapter was set up, and the last several chapters, kind of as a dialogue between Yirmiyahu and God, between the prophet and God. Some of the verses were Yirmiyahu speaking, the prophet speaking, and some were God speaking. It's important for us to keep track of who's speaking in order to fully understand the message and the perspective. So in the last chapter we had, remember, Yirmiyahu had this vision of desolation, where I saw this desolation, and he was looking out obviously into something in the future. And this all started in the beginning when he saw a very vague thing, the almond branch, but it's getting more and more specific. It's getting more and more, the images are getting more and more powerful, more and more detailed. And then God said, yes, there will be desolation, although it won't be complete. And the reason it's for the desolation is because the people are involved in vanity. They consistently don't get the message no matter what I do. Now, it is God speaking from verse 1, and he is speaking to Yirmiyahu, and but he speaks in plural, and I'm going to address that in a little bit. And he says, "Show to two, go out and roam b'chutzot Yerushalayim, in the streets of Jerusalem. V'u'una, and please go. I want you to see. I want you to look. I want you to look carefully. Uvakshu b'chovoseh, and search out in all the streets. Go up and down all the streets and all the neighborhoods, and look. Im timtze'u ish, if you will even find even one man. Im yesh oseh mishpat, if there's one person who does justice, who acts justly, mevakesh emunah, who seeks faithfulness, the eslach la, and then I will forgive the entire city." Why it is that there's a few questions that are obvious here. One is, how could it be that there was no one? There was no one righteous. There must have been some righteous people, and the Mefarshim, especially the Radak, the commentaries, especially the Radak, brings the verse from Psalms which says there's always some righteous people in Jerusalem, and he tries to reconcile that contradiction. To me, I wonder, because what about Yirmiyahu himself? And he must have had some students around him that were good, that were trying to do better, that were trying to fix things. Obviously, the way I think of this is we have to focus on the word ish here. Im timtze'u ish, if you will find a man. Now, ish, as the commentaries point out, doesn't just mean a man or a person. It means a man with a capital M. It means a leader, a person who has influence, an influencer, a leader. That's what an ish means. And it's saying, look around and see if you find anyone who is capable of changing this place. Look around and see if you can find someone who is able to help to bring about justice in the city, to bring about faithfulness and trustworthiness between man and the other man. The problem is that the society is so corrupt. It's not that there aren't any righteous people. It's that the entire leadership is so corrupt, and that the people are so corrupt that even the person that tries, even you, Yirmiyahu, are trying, but you can't do it. You can't make them better. That's what it means here. Im timtze'u ish, if you'll find a man. The im, and if chai Adonai yomeru, even if you'll find people that stand up, even if you find a leader that stands up and says, chai Adonai, meaning as the Lord lives, as in other words, he's trying to sound righteous and swearing by God, Lochein lasheker yishaveu. They're only saying that because they're trying to strengthen a lie that they're about to say. They're about to speak falsely, so they say Chai Hashem, the Lord lives, in order to make it sound like they're telling the truth and they're holy, but they're really all a bunch of liars. This is what God says when and again talking about the leadership being just so corrupt, and the people being so corrupt that even a good leader can't get them on the right path. So now, in verse 3, we go back to Yirmiyahu speaking now. And Yirmiyahu says to God, Adonai, God, Einecha, your eyes, and Einecha often means, and here it clearly means, when you look, when you pay attention, when you care, and when you try to do things to help, Halo le'emunah, is it not for emunah, for faithfulness? Now, emunah here Rashi understands emunah here mean for good, right? When you look at your purpose in paying attention to us is because ultimately you want to give us good, you want to benefit us. Even when you're coming with punishment, as we're about to see. The point is to make us better so that we get the message, so that because ultimately you want to do good. Another translation of emunah here is something solid, something real, something that lasts. When you, God, pay attention, it's for something real, not for something that passes. That's how the Radak and Metzudos understand that. But the point is that the prophet is saying to God, when you pay attention, isn't it because of emunah? Isn't it because you want to bring something good? I'm going with Rashi. However, he kisa osam v'lo chalu. You struck them, but they didn't become pained by it. They didn't get hurt because they didn't care. Ki lisam, you destroyed them, right? But me'anu kachas musar, they refused to take lessons. They refused to learn the lessons. Chizku pneihem, rather they hardened up and stiffened up their faces. Misela, even harder and more stubborn than a rock. Me'anu lashuv, and they refused to return to you, God. Va'ani amarti. So this is still the prophet himself speaking, so I thought, remember, God told the prophet, look, God told to search. So the prophet is going to search. And he didn't find. All he found were these people that were stubborn and refused to listen. So I thought, the prophet says, Ach dalim heim. Oh, these are all lowly people. Dalim could mean poor, but it could also mean people lowly, people on the lower rungs of society, people that are uneducated. No alu, they are silly. They just don't. They're just not educated. They're not smart. Kilo yadu derech Adonai. They never knew. They were never taught the proper ways of God. Mishpat Elohem, the justice of their God, of the God that they should have. So maybe El Chali, verse 5, I will go, El Hagedolim, let me go look at the wealthy people, the great people, the leaders, Vadabra Osam, and I will speak to them. Maybe I will be able to teach them. I will be able to turn them around. Maybe I'll be the Ish, or maybe among them there is an Ish that can turn them around. However, Hema Yachtav, all of the higher ups in society, all of them together, Shavru all, they all threw off and broke their yokes. In other words, that which tied them to God, their responsibilities, they've thrown them all away. Nitku moseros, they cut all of the leash, the ropes that held them, that should have kept them on the straight path. They went on their own and did their own thing. They are all completely on the wrong path. So now I see there is no way. The society is corrupt to the point where we can't turn them around. So now I understand verse 6, Al Kain Hikom Aryeh Miyar. This is why the lion from the forest has struck them. Ze'ev Aravos, and the wolf from the wilderness, Yishadadim, has plundered them. Nomer, the leopard, which Shoked Alarehem is stalking around their cities. And whoever walks out the city, the leopard who's lying in pounce will tear them apart. Why? Because their sins are so many. They have become so bad that their rebelliousness has become so powerful and so strong. So those were the words of Yirmiyahu Now, in verse 7, it's God speaking again. So God says, Eila zoses lachlach, and this time it's God speaking, but he's speaking to the people. Well, of course, through the prophet. Eila zos es lachlach. Where, for what merit, for what merit, and I'm translating this like the Radak, can I forgive you? Show me some reason to forgive you. I don't see, there's no merit that I should forgive you for. We couldn't find that we couldn't find that person. Vayishav banayach azavuni. My sons, my children, they've left me. They've forsaken me. Vayishavu below Elohim. And they're swearing on things that aren't even gods, that are nothing, that are just nothing. And if I tried to do them good, I tried to give them things. In other words, I punish, they don't get the lesson. And when they try to do good, when I try to satisfy them and give them the things that I want to, vayinafu, they go ahead and they become adulterous. Presumably this means here not literal adultery, although it could mean that, but it means they turn away from me. I give them everything, and then they go to the other gods. They go to the other countries. They go to the other nations. Uveis zonayis godadu, and they gather around the house of the harlot, of the brothel. So I mean, it has a dual meaning here. It means that they were unfaithful to God, but it also means that they were immoral, and immorality and promiscuity. The next verse. Is verse 8. Susim, they are like horses or stallions. Meyuzanim mashkim hayu. This is what they were like. Now, I'm going to translate this. So there's most of the standard commentaries understand meyuzanim from the word mazon, which is food. So then this would mean susim meyuzanim, horses that are well fed. Mashkim hayu, and they get up early in the morning, all well fed, and then ish el eshet re'ehu yitz'alu. Then each man goes and neighs like a horse at the wife of his friend. It's very hard to translate this verse, but the most smooth and most real translation, I believe, is really the Malbim in his Be'er Hamilot in one of his explanations. He translates this much better. And then when you translate it this way, the verse flows very nicely. And this is how he says: the language miyuzonim is not from the word mazon, which means to eat food, but it's from the land of zinut, it means. It's sexual. It means, in this case, it means ready for sex. In other words, we're saying the horses, stallions with their penis erect. Mashkim does not mean wake up in the morning, but it means their testicles, because oshech, the same words, the same root, is refers to testicles, as it says in Leviticus, where it talks about the priests of one who is meroach oshech, who has crushed testicles, cannot that's considered a blemish on the body. So and he cannot serve in the temple like that. So here it's saying, it's very crude, but it reads much better, and it's really powerful imagery. He's saying the people are like stallions that are lusty, with their penis erect, and they are neighing at the Eshet Re'eu, at the mares that belong to the other stallions. And that's how these people are like. They're so eager to go run and sin, eager to go and lust after the wives of their friends or people that they shouldn't be together with. This is that's what the people are like. They, instead of coming to me, instead of being responsible, they act like lusty stallions which want nothing else and they don't care who the mare belongs to or anything. They just run. Al Eila lo efkod. Now I'm looking for verse 9. On people like this, should I not punish them? No, Adonai, says God. And against a nation that is acting like this base, this awful, this corrupt, this immoral, I should not take my revenge. In verse 10, Alu v'sharosel. So now God gives permission to the nations that are going to be the ones who end up meting out the punishment against the people. This is what's going to happen. Alu v'sharosel. You can go up into their vineyards, v'shachesu, and you can destroy them. V'cholo al tasu. But just I don't give you permission to completely destroy them. God, this is a theme we've had this, I think this is the third or fourth time where God talks about this terrible punishment, but no, kolo lo ese, I will not completely destroy, not complete destruction. Hasiru netisho seha, which means remove the netishos are the sprouts of new vines that start to grow outward. Kilola Adonai, because these people, you can take them. You can take them, God tells the enemy, because these people are not acting in a way that's for God. Ki vagod bagdu, verse 11, because they have rebelled, rebelliously repetitive, which just to emphasize the point B, they have rebelled against me. Beis Yisrael, both the house of Israel, which refers to the 10 tribes of the northern kingdom, Uveis Yehuda, and the house of Judah. Noam Adonai, so says God. Verse 12, Ki chashu b'Adonai, they have denied the existence of God. Vayomru, and they have said Lohu. Now the people that are speaking now, God is talking about these people. He's actually referring to the false prophets that kept on leading the people and saying, oh, don't worry, you don't have to worry about God, everything's okay, nothing bad's going to happen, don't listen to your Jeremiah, don't listen to your Yirmiyahu. And those people, they have denied God. Vayomru Lohu, and they said Lohu, that God doesn't really even exist. V'lo tavo aleinu ra, and He's not going to bring any bad. No bad's going to happen. V'cherev, and war, v'rav, and hunger, lo nira. We will never see that. Everything's going to be fine. We're not going to have any enemies. We have plenty of food to eat. Don't worry. V'neviim yiyu lo ruach. And these prophets, these false prophets, will be like wind, meaning wind that just blows away. All the words that they say are so false. The words are just going to float away. And there is no actual speech in them, meaning there is no actual prophecy in them. They have no truth. That's what's going to happen to them. I'll tell you what's going to happen to them. And that's what's about to see in verse 14. Therefore, so says God, because you speak this way, because you, the false prophets, speak this way, I am going to put my words in your mouth, le'esh, but it's going to be a fire that consumes you and destroys you. And this entire nation that you're speaking to, eitzim, are going to be kindling wood, and they will all be destroyed along with you. It's a little odd that over here it says Ya'anda berchem, because you spoke in I will put my words in your mouth. The Radak initially assumed that this means that Yand, because that God was speaking. At first, it sounds like He's speaking to the false prophet, saying, because you spoke that way in plural, and then I'm going to put my words in your mouth, meaning your mouth, Yirmiyahu's mouth, and your mouth is going to speak words of fire, of predictions of destruction towards the people. However, I think I'm going to go with what the Radak brings from the Targum Yonasan after that, from the Targum, which sounds much better. What we're really saying here is because you, the false prophets, speak this way, I am therefore going to put my speech in your mouth. And what speech is that? That's going to be fire, going to be destruction. And this fits very well, the way the Targum translates, the way I just translated it, with what we see later on in Yirmiyahu, in Jeremiah 23, which the entire chapter there is devoted to criticism of these false prophets. But if we just look, I'm just going to pick two verses that where God says, "Hanavi asher ito chalom." It's talking about the false prophets, and then God says, "Halocho dvari keish," my word is like fire. No, Adonai, says God. So, it's like fire. If you and God was over there saying that He's going to punish these prophets with His word itself, because His word itself is like fire. And I think that's what it means over here. God's word itself, if not spoken properly by a prophet who's speaking it honestly, those words become fire, which actually consumes and destroys the person. Hineni, and what am I going to do? Hineni mevi alechem goy mimerchak, I'm going to bring upon you a nation from far away, Beis Yisrael, against the house of Israel. No, Adonai, says God, goy, a son who is going to be a very powerful and strong nation. Goy me olamhu, and a nation that is ancient, that is old, that has its experience, it's established. Goy lo teida leshono, a nation that you don't even know how to speak its language. This is just trying to portray an image, a frightening image. V'lo tishma ma yidaber, you will not even understand what this nation is saying to you. Ashpaso kikever pasuach, it's their quiver, that where they hold their arrows, is like an open grave, meaning they're just constantly pulling arrows out of it, more and more and more. Kulam giborim, they are all going to be powerful men. They're going to come and they're going to eat up all of your harvest and your bread. They're going to destroy your sons and your daughters. They will eat and consume your sheep and your cattle. They will eat your grapes and your figs. They will level the cities that are your fortresses. Of those cities that you are so have so much faith in to protect you from the sword, they're going to destroy it by the sword. But God promises again that even in those days when they come and cause so much destruction, I will not completely destroy you. Some of you, some parts of the nation will survive. Because this is a slight happy note, I'm going to end here, even though the actual best stopping point would probably be the end of the section is the next verse, but I'll stop here with something a little bit more, not quite cheery, but a little bit upbeat of, no, I will not destroy you. Again, God emphasizes that. Thank you so much for studying chapter 5a. Looking forward to studying chapter 5b with you.